And we are live. Welcome back to everybody to Behind the Tool Belt, episode 267. We've just celebrated our 5-year mark, January 23rd. 5 years, and we get to actually kind of celebrate it here because it didn't fall on a Wednesday. I think it kind of fell. It was last week sometime, I think, 10 days ago, something like that. But we didn't really promote it too much. But here we are at SRC Irving, Texas, April Hall. I think it's annual 13th annual 13th annual SRC Summit here in Texas, and she's done a magnificent job once again this year. So we're super pumped, super stoked. There's a lot of great speakers. The quality of attendees at this event has been great. I think better this year than always, but for whatever reason this year there's a lot of not just speakers. I'm talking about the quality of attendees that are coming through and the vendors, quality of vendors. Speaking of which, we have Zach here from Equipter, Chris Hofstra from Lead Scout app, and many, many more. Matt Farug, just the list goes on. I've seen a lot of great people here, a lot of great vendors. So we're super pumped. And then Miss Aaron's over there, Manning, Woo Manning the booth over there while Chris is over here doing a podcast.
Will's over there too, I think.
Yeah, Will.
Yeah.
Well, he's kind of like a woman, so yeah, it's kind of like a metro. He's
got a feminine side,
like a metrosexual side to him.
He works out.
Yeah, he does. He does take care of his body. So anyhow, thank you guys for coming on to the podcast today. Obviously, we're trying to promote Lead Scout and formulate a partnership with Equipter, who is actually local to our area in the northeast corridor of Pennsylvania, South Central.
Yeah, Lancaster.
Yeah, South Central PA, about 30 miles east from where we are in York, Pennsylvania. So thought it'd be pretty cool. We've seen this guy at many shows over the years, really, you and Aaron.
Yep.
And so thought, why not? We were talking already off mic and thought, why not just make the conversation, extend the conversation over here while we're going to film. So
it's the beauty of Behind the Tool Belt. Yeah. You just never know.
No, you don't. So we're hoping this time next year we're doing a podcast inside of an Equipter that they gave us. Yep. We didn't purchase, right? So we can promote their product.
Because you're already using it.
Yeah, we're already using it. Yeah, we use about 4 to 5 a week.
4 to 5 a week. That's good.
Yeah.
Mostly your residential projects, or are you doing commercial stuff? Or?
Mostly residential and our charitable events. Yeah. They're very convenient. They're light. They're easy to manipulate. You can drive them around the house. They're just they are. It's a good piece of equipment,
and it catches people's eye.
That is, the marketing aspect of it is something that you initially off the cuff you won't be like, oh, that's a great marketing piece, but like we tell guys all the time, wrap it in your company information, get your fancy banners on there. Like when people are driving by, it's going to catch their eye because they've never seen anything like it. Most of your roofers traditionally don't have this. So, the marketing aspect of it is a huge thing for it.
Yes, it makes you look much more professional. Not that you're still not using tarps and things like that, but it definitely keeps the yard and the job site cleaner. It helps you, obviously if you have to transport materials to the job site too, it helps you get up to the roof. But I think most importantly, the safety of using it and the debris removal off of the roof. I think, I know when I've used it and I was on, a rancher or a single family dwelling where I felt actually safer because it was at the bottom.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's ever looked at it from that point of view, but being an older roofer myself, I tend to think of, my exit strategy. Like if I go to fall off the roof, like where am I going to land? Right. And it's like when I know that that's below me, it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, I only have one story to fall until I fall into, a stack of shingles or something like that. But for safety purposes, for for my mind, knowing that, hey, I'm good to go. But anyhow, that's just how I think the older I get. Not that I roof every day, but we do Roofers in Recovery, National Roofers in Recovery Day every year. And typically we'll have an Equipter there. So we get everybody out there. Kim, like all the girls out of the office, like we're all up there tearing this roof off along with everybody else, the production side, the admin, the salespeople were up there. So we get the Equipter out there. And of course, I'm thinking if one of the girls happened to twist their ankle on a hose or something because
Sure.
they don't know that you can't step on, your safety line or your hose for your nail gun, or else your feet will come out from underneath you. That at least the equipter's down there.
Equipter's there.
Yeah, to catch them.
Yeah,
I'd love to hear more about like how the technology has evolved in the last 5 years, or how long has it been?
Well, we've been around for 21 years.
Oh, okay.
So Aaron started it in 2004. He had his roofing company prior to that for about 20 years. Came up with the Equipter 4000 idea from roofing, and then kind of saw the need in the roofing industry. And so from there, him and his son started just building unit after unit after unit, and then eventually went full time into making Equipters. So from there, we've added multiple models. I think we're up to 7 or 8 right now, different models, and we're starting to get into some new models that are getting into different industries outside of just roofing. But we have about 3 or 4 that are kind of our main units for roofing. So,
Sure.
And we last year at the IRE launched the Equipter 7000, which is our new towable boom lift. It's going to be kind of a mixture between a telehandler and the Equipter 4000. And technology in that one has really kind of grown into fully remote controlled. There's a lot of new safety computer features that our previous models didn't have. So we're super excited about that, and we've already had a ton of pre-orders on that one. So I'm sure guys that have been looking at them are like, can't believe we have a 2-year lead time for what we're waiting on for that unit. So we're excited about it. It should be fully coming out this year. So yeah, that's kind of where.
So when you say remote control, are we talking like I'm up on the roof, on the ridge, and I can move it over?
Yeah, essentially. Yeah. So pretty much from what I understand of the remote control capabilities, it's like 200 feet away, not blocked. Like your view's not blocked from that unit, but yeah, that's pretty much the idea that you could do is stand up on the roof and move it if you want. Not that I necessarily might recommend that, but
Sure.
I'm sure there's going to be guys that are going to do that.
Probably. Yeah, I was thinking that too for safety purposes. You might not want to do that, but you may.
Depends on what's below,
the
right? How
situation.
much clearance you have.
Right.
Everything's kind of circumstantial.
Yeah.
And it might be more efficient to just kind of keep sliding it down the soffit.
Yeah.
And it's cool. It's got 3 different steering features, so you can do like your crab walk, like your traditional new telehandlers have. There's, I think, all-wheel drive, and then there's rear-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive. So a lot of new things that have gone into that unit, so that we're really excited about.
What do you think inspired that?
I mean, the biggest thing with the 4000 was always like guys wanted to go higher.
Mm-hmm.
And so designing a unit that goes higher, obviously, is kind of the main thing. So that one's going to be able to go up to 26 foot, which is twice the height of what your 4000 is able to do. But then we also came up with the idea of being able to take your box off and put forks on it, like a telehandler. So there's just kind of the idea, especially more so geared towards like commercial industry, since a lot of guys are already using telehandlers with like boxes on them. How can we create something that you don't necessarily need to have a CDL driver, a trailer, but that you can have a unit that you can just hook right up to your truck, take it to your job site, use it for both the dumping, but then also moving material and lifting material.
It's the box.
It's very similar to the 4000 size. So
Okay.
I think that one it's a 4.1 cubic yard.
Okay.
So it's a little bit, the dimensions are slightly different, but the cubic yardage is about the same.
Okay. So the overall size of the trailer is the same, or is it bigger?
It's a bigger unit, yeah. I don't know offhand what exactly it is, but it's going to be a little bit wider. It's going to be a little bit longer, heavier unit as well. But it's actually the weight distribution is going to be better than the 4000. So a lot of guys are concerned about taking something like that into your yard, but really it's actually going to do better than the 4000 because it's got 4 big tires rather than 2 big tires.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. Makes sense. No, I'm excited to see that. I was wondering if Glenn and Mike were listening to that because it definitely, I like the feature that it goes up 26 feet. I'm imagining that has outriggers.
Yes.
Is that why it's wider and longer to facilitate that type of weight?
Yeah.
That now it does it like boom out, or does it go scissor straight up?
It's gonna boom out. So yeah, it's very similar to the telehandler style boom. So you're gonna be going out and
Wow,
so
that's bold.
weight distribution is probably going to be. It's going to have like a load chart on it. So
Okay.
different angles, different heights. You're going to be able to probably lift more than 4,000 pounds. Fully extended expectation is 4,000 pounds.
Interesting. Do you think it's recommended to keep it attached to the truck when doing something like that, or do you think it'll be fully functional without it being attached to the truck?
Yeah. You don't. It's going to be very similar. I mean, you're going to be able to drive around your entire property.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I was just thinking. I'm always thinking. I'm getting older. I think of safety. I don't know.
Damn. Well, you have more people.
Yeah.
The more people you have out there using it,
Yeah.
the risk goes up.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah. The exposure. Yeah. No, that's great. What would you say right now, until you just mentioned this one? What would you say right now is the most popular? Would it be the 4,000?
Yeah.
And do you think that's because of a price point, or is that just?
I think general overall versatility of that unit. And given that it's been out for 21 years now, so it's definitely the most recognized unit of all. But probably, I'd say 90 to 95% of what we do is that unit as far as sales go right now. So, yeah, and it's 1 and 2 story residential roofing. Like that's gonna be the model that you're gonna want to go with. Even with the new one coming out, like from some of the guys that we've talked to that are kind of testing using the product already. I think it's more geared towards commercial applications and then higher end, bigger residential projects. So a lot of guys are still sticking with their 4,000s, and maybe they'll add the 7,000 when they get into those bigger projects or commercial projects. So
how many guys or how often are guys getting the custom TC backer put on the side of the Equipter? And are you doing that, or are they kind of in charge of doing the wrap?
We don't have that option. Yeah, so everything is going to be done by someone locally to them.
Sure.
But I would say majority. It depends on like if it's a subcontractor versus general contractor who purchases it. Usually, if it's a subcontractor, they're just keeping our Equipter stuff on because they're obviously not going to be branding their GC's jobs with their company information. But those general contractors are really, I would say, majority of the time, 75% or more are probably doing that.
Yeah.
So I know for me, when I sell a unit, that's my second follow-up email is talking to them about the marketing aspect and trying to get them to brand it, because I mean, it's going to help pay for that investment by having that, because you go into, like I said earlier, you go into neighborhoods, people are asking about it and people are looking at it. And if you can have a giant billboard on your project, like,
it just seems like you made the investment in the unit itself. And, Ty, you talk so much about touches, it's just, you can't even really count how many potential touches, just like, your job signs and things like that. I was asking Dope Marketing, they're here, what they're doing and, what are they really seeing, have the most adoption and yard signs by far. Right. And you just have to, it's almost like it should be a standard. And I think maybe that's a little cliche now because I think everybody is doing that, but I think you also probably see a lot of jobs that still don't have yard signs, right? Yeah. It's just a missed opportunity.
It really is. No, to captivate and stand out. The Equipter has definitely been one of those factors in being able to stand out, look more professional, keep the job more organized. And, the cool thing about it is too, so typically Mike and I, or actually Glenn and I were just talking about this morning, the old school traditional dump trailer, and you typically, unless you have a newer truck with a backup camera, you need 2 guys. So go pick up the dump trailer and take it to the dump. Well, you need at least somebody there to, no, go back up. Whoa, stop. No, pull forward again and get over, But with the Equipter, you literally just drive it over to your hitch and drop it right onto the hitch. It is like we rent them. So we do help, the cause, promote Lead Scout Equipter, but they are slick as shit. And why I've never just bit the bullet and bought one. I almost bought one from John, the guy that we rent them from, but I thought for an extra whatever XYZ, I would probably be able to buy one. But we've just invested in other things, and the timing hasn't been right. But I think I'm digging this 7,000. Mike, I don't know if you heard him talking about this new product that they're launching this year.
You should talk to John. He has one for rent.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So if you want to try, connect with him. He has one.
He's
so.
probably one of your best salespeople. You don't even have to pay him to be a salesperson.
Yeah, he does all right. He likes to sell some used units
He's a
to our customers
salesperson
too.
that buys the product every day.
Yeah.
No, we appreciate John.
I bet. Yeah, no, it's great. No, I'm kind of excited to maybe we will bite the bullet on this 7,000 version of the Equipter.
Especially if you're getting it for free.
Yeah.
7,000. That's a bigger ask.
Okay.
Yeah.
That one's a little bit more pricier than 4,000.
But I think it would look really cool inside of our booth at IRE. Maybe not this year, but next year. We could launch your new product. Maybe you'll come out with the 8,000 by then.
Yeah, right.
And
we got a new product coming to IRE this year too. So so we're excited about that one too.
Can you talk about that?
Probably not.
Okay.
Probably shouldn't.
We just know it's coming.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
All right. We'll talk offline then.
Nothing huge, but it's a new product. So.
Okay. No, that's great. So, how long have you been working with Equipter? I know we've known each other for at least 2 years
2
now.
years. Yeah. No, I've been. This will be my 4th year in July.
Okay.
Yep.
What inspired you or encouraged you to go work for Equipter?
My wife wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, so I needed a job that was going to pay a little bit more than what I was doing. It is a sales job, so something that I kind of had to work for, but gave me a good opportunity. It was an awesome product to sell. I got it right from the beginning as far as like the value of it. So something that I felt confident in going out there and trying to get people to buy. Whereas other products, I don't know if I could say the same, but that was just something that I started out with and I grew into, and I've really enjoyed my time so far. Learning how to be a better salesman. It was my first sales job, so I'm glad they kind of took a leap of faith with me and gave me a shot.
Yeah. Speaking of staying at home, the first time I met you, you had your wife and kids with you.
My 1-year-old at the time, yeah.
Okay.
So she's turning 3 in about 2 weeks now. So
Awesome.
It's been a while since that ice storm, and I have another one that just turned 1 a couple weeks ago. So
Yeah, that was Denton, Texas, right?
Denton, Texas, yeah.
SRC 2023.
Yeah, that was a mess.
Yeah.
So it was a good time though. I mean, we really got to kind of be intentional with everybody and like the people that were there. Like, I don't know, just kind of, it was a cooler,
I thought
cooler
it added
atmosphere.
a really cool element to the community aspect of SRC.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and the venue was cool. The hotel was nice. So everything we needed was right there. The restaurant was good. There was restaurants within walking distance, and it was good. That was probably one of my favorite shows because of that quarantine that we had to experience. Yeah, a good version of that. Yeah, so but it was fun. It was a lot of fun. I always typically rent a 4-wheel drive, and we're from the north, so it was like we found a Buc-ee's at like 2 a.m. in the morning, so we were like the only people on the road, and I've never been to Buc-ee's, so that was a complete experience in itself. Was experiencing Buc-ee's during an ice storm, but like I was going to say thousands of people. There probably was thousands of people there. 2 a.m. in the morning, the only place open. Remotely, probably within a 50-mile radius of Denton, Texas. So everybody and their brother were at Buc-ee's, and man, they just sold everything, and like anything from cowboy hats to shoes to food to making their own beef jerky and stuff. So if you haven't ever experienced the Buc-ee's, I highly recommend at least once.
We drove past it, the one that was close by there, and yeah, that was crazy. That was huge. Never seen anything like that.
Yeah, it's fun. It's definitely that. Thank you, Gio. Okay, so let's change pace here a little bit, man. And this morning I woke up and I was thinking to myself, we went out to dinner last night, and it was cool to watch a group full of leaders sitting there, right? The who's who of TC Backer and the who's who of Lead Scout sitting there. Okay. And I strategically placed myself in the middle of the table so I could kind of camaraderie with everybody sitting there. I didn't want to sit down at the one end and not have a conversation with you or Will or Glenn or Mike. or Martine or Gio. And I thought to myself, what does leadership really mean to me today? Right. 10 years ago, something totally different. And I just thought it was really nice to watch you with your team. Okay. And the laughter and the leadership that you display, and Mike, who runs our complete southeast region of the country, Glenn, who runs the entire Mid-Atlantic, not quite 9 states, but a lot, five out of the 9 that we operate out of, and of course Vic sitting there, who's the man behind the scene and stuff. It just made my heart happy today, and thinking, what does leadership actually mean to me today? And somebody would ask me that question. I'm not going to answer it right now, but Chris, I think I want to hear your spin on where you're at in the season of your life. Like, what does leadership actually mean to you today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like Lead Scout, we've been around 5 years. The product has changed a ton, but the team hasn't really. It's kind of been me and, a couple of our co-founders, and, just kind of hustling and grinding, kind of a owner operator kind of mentality, which I think a lot of roofers here today can resonate with. And, now Aaron's been with us for a couple of years. Will just started with us. We've got another person hopefully coming soon. If she's listening, that hopefully is exciting for her to hear us say that. So I think the answer is I'm trying to learn that, and I think part of, what I intend to bring to this team and to leadership is just, getting to know them, getting to know why they're there. It's kind of like when you made the switch to Equipter, there was a reason behind that, right? There's something that's driving you to do well at Equipter, and getting to understand the people that are coming into Lead Scout and why are they here, right? And acknowledging the fact that we might just be a stepping stone, right? We might be just a stop in their journey, right? And so what can we do to ensure that whether they're here for a few months or a few years, that they look back and they say, man, I'm so glad that I had that time at Lead Scout. And I think that's kind of, my hope, my goal. And, a lot of that has to do with just the places I've been, the companies that I've worked for, and the leadership that was there, and the way that they invested in me, regardless if I was committed for 10 years or 10 months. In fact, one of the companies I worked for is a publicly traded national company, because I came from the freight business. And so, I went to Fort Smith, Arkansas was our corporate headquarters. And I went there for a week training. And I mean, this was incredible in-depth training on, how to sell this product, that we were selling. And, in kind of their storytelling, the founder of the company was asked one time when they were building this training program, you're investing a lot of time and money into these people that just got signed on, right? What if they leave, right? I mean, you're giving them all the industry insights and kind of as we would say, kind of the secret sauce, right? We're instilling all this information and downloading all this information. What if they leave and go work for one of the competitors? And I'm blanking on the name of the founder, but he said, well, what if I don't and they stay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the reality is regardless if they're planning on being there for 5 years, like you've been with Equipter for 5 years or 5 months, it's our obligation to make sure we're setting them up for the most success possible. And it doesn't really matter, because we might just be a stop along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, if we don't do that and they stay, that's worse.
Yeah.
Right. And that really impacted me, and I think has carried into my role now. To answer your question, is like, how can I make sure that Aaron and Will and anybody that comes to Lead Scout is better off than they were before? And as a golfer, that's an easy concept, right? I'm going to leave that golf course better than I found it. Right. And that's a job as leaders, I think, with our employees.
Yeah. Great response. So this leads me to my other question. So with you working at other places, was there somebody or something that you've picked up that you've implemented today in your leadership style?
Nothing's coming to mind. Sorry, I didn't really hear my voice there. Nothing's really coming to mind.
Well, the reason why I'm saying that is because you're talking about leaving an impression, right, on these individuals that may stay, it might just be a stepping stone. And this is such a great topic because I talk about this sometimes on our podcast. It is our responsibility. And what if they stayed, right? If we didn't pour into them
and they stayed,
right? But this is the thing. They're going to be different. If they do leave, they're going to be different when they leave here. So there has to be something along the way. Was there an impression that somebody left with you, whether it was good or bad? It doesn't have to always be a positive.
Sure. I think maybe if I'm understanding the question right, is just kind of that concept of finding the right people and you figure out the seat later. So I think part of ensuring that this stop, if it's a short-term or long-term stop, is the most beneficial is making sure they're in the right seat. And so, but that you actually do typically try to fill a seat. But if you're hiring people the right way, you're looking for the right people, and that seat that you're hiring for might change, right? So I think part of it is understanding, okay, what makes this person filled? How do we fill this person, right? And there's all kinds of personality tests and things that you can do. And I'm curious to know if you've done that, or if Equipter does that. We're actually not doing it at Lead Scout today. I want to, but just understand, like, what's your MO? What's your modus operatus that fills you? So at the end of the day, you're not feeling drained, you're feeling full. And we might have, brought you in for a certain seat, but maybe we need to move you. So I think maybe my answer would be what I've seen from other companies is, hey, we brought you in for this role, but I think this role you'd thrive more. And it'd be better for you, it'd be better for the company. So I think just being willing to listen and understand, and the more time you're spending, I think as a leader, you often start to shift your focus away from the customer and more to the people that are taking care of those customers. And how can I ensure that Aaron or Will or whoever it is in the right seat and thriving? And I have to be in tune with that, probably more than I was before, when I would know every roofer that signed up for Lead Scout, and I would know more about them, right? Because I didn't have anybody else care. I mean, myself and the customer.
Yeah.
So
great response. That was a great response. Even though, I was looking more for there was this guy I worked for, but I think the nugget that you just dropped is the lesson that you've learned, that when you went to work at other places, that they've found other positions for people, even though they may have hired them as a salesperson, but they were better at marketing or something like that. And I think that's definitely something that a lot of companies need to be more open to as well, because there's also talents that people don't even know they have either, right? Or there's talents that, us as managers or entrepreneurs might be blind to them having. And I'm saying that speaking for myself, because, I've hired somebody, and Chris Baker is a great example of this. Like, we hired him for something totally different than what he does today. And literally, he's moved probably 5 positions since he's worked for us in the past 6-7 years he's been with us. I would say at least 4 of those positions he's created for himself, right? And being open-minded enough to allow that to happen and not say, no, I need you over here. You can't go over there. You can't grow. You can't expand. Right. You need to stay dumb right here. Literally, that's what you're saying to yourself. And I've been in that position. I've been narrow-minded myself and thought that way, like, no, you're more important over here, right? Out of fear of lack of sales, if I move this person out of a sales position or whatever the case might be, but to allow enough room for people to grow and flourish in is definitely a great mindset to have as a leader, right? Like and one of our key factors that we need to have too is identifying that earlier than, sooner than later, is finding people's talents and knowing their strengths and their weaknesses. Just because they have weaknesses doesn't mean that they don't have strengths. So it is our position, it is our job to put them in a position where they're going to grow and expand because they're stronger over here. It is our job to set them up for success and not failure. And I think if you can keep that open mind and allow them to have an open mind and an opinion and a thought and empower them and give them ownership in a project and create a task for them to manage that project. I call people PMs, like you're PMing this project. You know, and when you can do that for someone, like really, and then when they come to you and ask you questions, like, no, you decide.
Yeah.
And when you can say that and feel confident enough that, you know, in yourself, and really that's at the end of the day, it's about how confident I feel about myself. And I'm, you know, I'd like to get some input and
Yeah, I'd love to hear
insight from your experience of your career.
Yeah.
I know it's a little off,
Yep.
yeah, but this is typically the shit that we talk about on behind the tool belt, and hence where kind of the name behind the tool belt came from, like the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I know for a fact that you work for a great company. So why don't you give us a scenario where, like, wherever you were before compared to where it is now, and what you've learned from both?
Great question.
Yeah. I think previously I was at a company that did exporting to Bermuda. We had customers in Bermuda that we would export stuff to. And I think where Equipter differs is in like their intentionality with being a family and investing in their employees, as far as just, for instance, we have a fully stocked kitchen that breakfast, lunch, snacks, like pretty much everything, like they give us to it for free. And that's always something that they've done since Aaron had a roofing company. And something small like that, for me, just shows that, like, hey, like, we care about you. We're going to take care of you. And it costs them a heck of a lot of money that they don't have to spend on us, but they choose to spend on us because they treat us like family and they want us to feel like family. So that whole culture that they've created at Equipter, and then just even like spiritually and just caring about the person in general, they've gone out and they've brought in legal migrants from other countries that Aaron has met through his missionary organization that he kind of runs with, and he's given them jobs here in our company, and they're great employees, and he cares about them. He cares about their family, and he's very intentional in that aspect of it. So as far as like leadership, that's something unique that they've shown me in the company, and I've come to really appreciate.
No, that's a great response. Now, let me ask you this: has there been something that you've been taught by their type of leadership that you've been able to implement into your own household? Like whether it was the spiritual aspect or you know, because you're a leader, whether you're a sales manager, you're the leader of your household.
Yeah.
Right. So we're all in this building, we're all leaders. Okay. Yes, whatever domain you're in. So was there something that you may do differently now in your household because of the impact that working at Equipter has had on you?
Yeah. To your spiritual point, I think that has been a huge thing for me, and for leading my family in that aspect. It's not just where we're like, oh, I'm going to read my Bible right now. It's everyday things. It's everyday thoughts, everyday actions that you guys that I'm doing with my family. That not only do I need to trust in God, or do I need to put my faith in God, but looking to him for guidance, for wisdom, for leadership in that aspect. And for them, it's for Aaron, Dave, and Ray, for them, that's huge. It's like, whether we're going to be a $35 million company or we're going to be a $25 million company, like, God is in control, and we can trust in him and know that he's going to give us everything that we need. And like, he's going to provide the people to work here. He's going to provide the sales. He's going to provide the leads generated. Like, they fully trust in God no matter what. And that to me is very encouraging, but also very respectful.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, just to add to that, as a fellow father and husband, I think there's these times when we get to our end, right? And it doesn't have to be this, big moment, but just maybe it's just a day we're having a hard time parenting. We just don't have the patience. We're short tempered or, whatever. And, I think, I'm blessed to have a wife that cares about me in a spiritual sense. So when I'm having a bad day, for whatever reason, a lot of times her first question is, have you prayed about it? And, Ty, you always say, I'm not a Bible thumper, but I get on my knees all the time, and it's kind of the same thing. And where does our help come from? Where does our support come from? Because we all as humans, whether you have a faith in God or not, you get to the end of yourself and there's nothing else there. Right. And I mean, if we're going to get spiritual about it, I think there's a rhetoric, there's a message out there that says you just have to dig deeper in yourself or something. But unfortunately, you're not going to find that help. And you're just going to keep digging. It's a bottomless hole until you find where the real help comes from. And I think so, to your point, when you see a company that seeks the real helper, then when you're in those moments at home or with a customer or with people that you're working with or managing, and you realize that whatever it is that you thought you had, you're failing at, and it might just be that day or that moment, having an example of like, where can I get help? And it could be in a fellow employee, it could be a friend. I think God shows up through those scenarios as well. Sometimes it's just getting on your knees and saying, Lord, I need help. Like I was, pardon my French, I shit the bed with how I handled that situation with my daughter and my son. I let my own pride or I let my own issues from the day get in the way. And I didn't have the mercy or the patience that I should have had that you have with me, Lord. And so I need your help. So I think, Ty, you exhibit that in your leadership with your company. You talk about it all the time on the show and behind the show about where you seek help. So you can be that help to those that are at TC Backer. And so I think it's a great topic. And I don't think a lot of people want to come out of the closet and talk about it, especially live on YouTube and Facebook right now. But, it's a great, and it's where I seek my wisdom and it's where I seek my strength to carry out whatever mission that I put us in sometimes, or, that's, I like how you touched on, he puts people in your life, and most likely that's where I get the message that I'm seeking, is through another individual. Not that I don't get thoughts, right? Nobody speaks to me, but I'll get thoughts when I seek for the answer, for clarity and vision for the company, the direction, dealing with situations and stuff like that. Yes, I have people that counsel, but they're my trusted advisors, and they have the same beliefs and faith and systems put in place as I do. And I'm not perfect by no means. And just to circle back on a thought that you were talking about your daughter, and it's like that seems to be where I fail the most, is with my own immediate family. Like I have more patience and tolerance for coworkers, people outside of my household. I tend to practice these principles better, with a homeowner, or different situations and stuff like that. And at home is where that's where for me it needs to start, where I really need to shine like a diamond. And, when I started this conversation with you guys with my morning thoughts, you know what I mean? I have my morning thoughts, right? I do. I got a couple books that I read in the morning, and, I was thinking what leadership means to me. And this, I'm going to touch on some entrepreneurial stuff. And, getting into business, being a business owner for me in the season that I'm in right now. And I'm not saying this is why I started out where I was going to start out in business. It was obviously to provide for myself and for my family and stuff. But being an entrepreneur, you should be in the business of serving others. Okay. And if it's for profit,
If that's your driving force, you're not going to live a very prosperous life. And what I mean by prosperous and wealthy and those words that we tend to use for monetary sentiments, for money, right? I don't mean it that way. I mean it for fulfillment and impact and the warmth that I feel by doing the right thing for somebody else is more important to me today than the bottom line. When we had a conversation yesterday about when COVID hit, and most businesses in Pennsylvania had to just close down and go out of business, and we elected not to, and we kept anybody and everybody on. I sacrificed profit. I went more into our people, and that was a true testament to where I really don't talk shit on the mic in front of the camera, because I think there was a question that came up. Somebody actually interviewed me on our podcast yesterday offline. They're like, I want to interview you. I was like, where? Right here. I said, okay. So we started, I was getting pretty deep with some of his questions. And I thought, that's where the rubber met the road for me. And there's been many times, because the questions he was asking me, there wasn't just one time where I've not intentionally tried to show, but just the type of person, I guess, that I am, right, wrong, or indifferent. And it might make me a horrible business person at the end of the day. Who knows? But I know the fulfillment that I feel from the impact that I have. And sitting at that dinner table last night, and the impact that we're having on each other, all of us. We couldn't do any of this without each other, first and foremost. And not one time have we talked about money or profit or any of these things. Yeah, well, yes, it's important. Okay, I'm not being ignorant to the fact that but what seems to happen is when you get your priorities straight, that we get rewarded 10x, tenfold by continuously showing up, suiting up, and doing the next right thing, especially when nobody's watching. And you almost got to feel like he's watching you all the time, right? Like you're always being watched. Somebody, it could be your kids that are watching you. It could be metaphorically the man in the sky, that's watching you, the eye in the sky, or whatever, So for me, leadership is about impact today in the season that I'm in right now. And I'm not expecting everybody to be kind of where I'm at. I've been very blessed over the years, have made a lot of business, entrepreneurial decisions, didn't ask enough questions. I mean, all the things if I had to sum it up of like how we're still in business today, it is nothing that I've done for us to be where we're at today. It's because something has been watching over me and has placed the right people at the right times in my life to work these things out where I may have made bad decisions or the wrong choice financially or verbally. You know what I mean? So anyhow, I really wanted to talk about that today, because this is our Wednesday edition at our 12 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Behind the Tool Belt. And I really wanted to kind of get a little deep. And I knew, Chris, I know you're down for that. And I was kind of hoping, you were and are. So I don't know where we're at as far as time here.
Yeah, I don't know if Zach even knew what he was signing up for as far as time.
I didn't.
Do you have anybody else at the booth?
No.
we might need to have him get back to the booth.
Yeah. So, but thank you guys for coming on and being, vulnerable and willing to come on the mic with us. And thank you for, because 5 minutes before 12 o'clock, you're like, oh, that's 3 minutes from now. I was like, yeah.
But
that's kind of how
we roll.
Yeah. It's kind of
what I love about it.
Yes. Right. So true authenticity and being a genuine person and, doing right always. I read something the other day, and I know I'm not going to remember how to say it, but doing something right can't be wrong. Or I'll have to find who said it. Actually, it was Ted Lasso. That said it, and I posted it the other day.
There's
like 13 lessons
right there.
So go onto my Facebook. The other day I posted 13 lessons that I've learned from Ted Lasso. I actually posted those 13 lessons, so it's in there. And I actually got that from somebody else. So I'm not that wise to sit there. I did write it all out and kind of broke it out a little bit. But obviously, whoever wrote the story of Ted Lasso,
he's a modern day Jesus.
yeah. So I love leadership stuff. So if you haven't checked out Ted Lasso, I'm going to plug past Ted Lasso.
Love it.
But anyhow, we're going to wrap it up. No, I'm good. Thank you, though.
This has been great. Thanks, Zach.
Yeah,
it's good to appreciate you guys having me.
Reconnect with you.
Always a pleasure, Zach.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was you. Did you have a beard last time?
I had a bigger beard. Yeah.
Okay.
Now it's just a little scruff.
Yeah. So, cool.
Awesome. All right, man. Well, thank you guys for joining us for our weekly edition of Behind the Tool Belt. We will see you next week for episode 268. And I believe our guest will be Matt Farug. So until then, you guys be safe and take care of each other.
Adios.
See you next week.
Thanks.